Hello, welcome back to the Transfer Flow. And on today's episode, we look at the Champions League fixtures. Have Bayern Munich made themselves UCL favourites already? Have Liverpool found a solution to their early season travails? Barcelona's Belgian nightmare and how much faith we have left in them? And Chelsea's difficulties in Azerbaijan. Plus, we discuss rumours that Real Madrid might sell Vinicius Jr. Where could he go, and how could Real line up without him? That's all on today's episode of the Transfer Flow. So we're back for another midweek edition of the podcast, and joining me, Neel, you're back once again to go through European football. We even put Qarabag on the schedule today because you're here. Azerbaijan.
That's why I agreed. That's why I agreed. I was like, I'm not talking about Champions League unless.
So you're like, I only will talk about teams whose names sound like Harry Potter characters. like that's exclusively what I'm interested in. It's good that we've actually got B-roll this week, which makes me sound like less of a xenophobe.
Well, it's behind the Patreon paywall, though, so yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And on the topic of Patreon, if some of you haven't signed up yet, then please do head over to patreon.com/thetransferflow and sign up for access to our bonus episodes and our B-roll. You can also win a month's subscription. We encourage you to comment on our YouTube videos, and the best comment will win a month subscription to the Patreon. That will give you 4 full-length podcast episodes each month, plus a load of B-roll as well. So please get commenting. However, over here today, we're going to be talking about the Champions League. We're also going to be talking about a big potential transfer, which looks like it could maybe be serious, like a serious idea at least. But I think we have to start with the glamour matchup of the Champions League round, which was PSG versus Bayern Munich. I would say that these two teams are pretty clearly, or I would have said going into this, these are two of the 3 best teams in the world right now. Like I think you'd have to have them in that conversation. And if you looked at the stats at the end of this game, you'd be like, okay, this is like a relatively evenly matched game. Bayern 1.5 XG, PSG 1.9. But of course, there was a red card for Luis Díaz. And at the time that he went off the pitch, Bayern had been pretty clearly the superior team, 11 versus 11 in the first half. Really, I said, as I posted in our Slack, I think I believe in Bayern or something. Instantaneous red card for Bayern, like as I was sending it.
It sent, and he got sent off.
But man, I was like, this is serious stuff. And also, Bayern have got Arsenal next, and I was like, Arsenal are also in this group of teams who want to claim to be the best team in the world, and a very different proposition to PSG. If Bayern win that as well, then suddenly it's like they become Champions League favourites, to my mind. Then, if they're doing that without Musiala, I think we've got to take them seriously. This game, what really stood out to you in that first half, which is really the only half that's kind of worth analysing?
It's the only meaningful half. Yeah. I mean, I actually did. I wrote about Bayern in this week's newsletter, actually from like that angle of like, are they now serious Champions League contenders? And like the Musiala thing is very interesting because up to this game, it was actually kind of without Musiala, the changes they were able to make to their attack were kind of one of the big reasons why they look so good, and not just so good, but like such like serious contenders in the Champions League.
Yeah,
because even last season, like domestically, the numbers were incredible, but no one really took them seriously in Europe because what they did domestically is pin teams in, and then people like Musiala, Olise, weaved their magic, broke through, got the goals. But the question was, what will you do in these more open games like PSG?
Yeah,
and that's where they were lacking. But now they look serious contenders because they're happy to play these games. They have, I think, Luis Diaz. Obviously, we didn't really like the amount at the time, but the his arrival and the profile he brings definitely has been an excellent fit because he gives them a very good direct threat in behind, going through, making runs inside, and we saw that for the goals, because those were from turnovers, but we've seen other goals as well, where especially when Kane drops back, Luis Diaz is often the one making the run in behind, attacking the space he vacates. But also with Musiala gone, or well, not gone, but like out for the start of the season, that's freed up Kane to be more kind of fluid in his positioning. He can drop
Yeah.
back a lot more. He didn't do that too much in this game actually. But if you look at other, like if you look at the Classicer, for example, he was receiving passes like in defensive midfield from Neuer and pinging them forward.
Mm.
And then of course, then with like someone like Nabry or Jackson behind him rather than Musiala, you have someone who can still occupy the line, or also both can drop back. So they have these very interesting attacking dynamics, which made them look really good even going in. But the question for this game for me was, how are they going to hold up out of possession?
Yeah.
Because we hadn't really seen a serious test. Chelsea were the only team, but I mean, we'll talk about them a bit later. Like they're not a super serious test out of possession right now. So
Hmm.
we hadn't seen them against like an elite attacking force, and this was the first time they came up against that. And like you say, first off, by far the better team, and really won the game in that out of possession phase. Both of the goals coming from high turnovers, a
Yeah.
really excellently executed press. I think they were. I mean, they tend to be generally as well. And once again, here they were extremely player oriented. Almost like one for one matchups throughout. But the key was, I think, the decisions, especially their defenders and centre backs, especially made of like when to jump out, when to jump forward and make the tackle versus when to hold back. Because
Upamecano, who historically has received a lot of criticism for his performances in big games like this, I mean, he
he
was
was
pretty like
unbelievable.
that first goal is entirely his jump, right? That creates the
Yeah,
turnover.
exactly. And like like they pretty much got all their decisions spot on for the most part, and that's really what set them up here. Because the thing with all like any fully player oriented out of possession setup is that if one of your defenders messes their jump up,
Mm.
you're almost done for, especially against a side like PSG, because they are going to play the quick pass, they are going to look in behind, attack the space, and then you're in big trouble. But Bayern almost never let them get through like that. And at the same time, I did think like this was it was a bit of a weird performance for PSG. Like they didn't look secure in the build up as they
Yeah.
very often do against similar kinds. Like I don't think the Bayern front four kind of blew them away with their pressing intensity. It wasn't that. Like they were quite kind of calculated in when they jumped, and when they like triggered the press, they kind of tried to show them to the side and then squeeze them in and try to get turnovers there. But it wasn't like they were like running at them full speed, and then it's not like a peak Newcastle front three running straight at you kind of press,
Hmm.
and you have
Hmm.
to do something quick. They just it was weird. Like they tried to do a fair few rotations in midfield. Like Pichine was moving all over the place. The eights were dropping back quite a lot. But like within those rotations, I think something they didn't get some things right, and they kind of gave away those cheap turnovers. Marquinhos had a pretty kind of shaky game. A few loose passes and loose touches,
Hmm.
and so they especially got trapped on his side more, even though they went there more. And also like they're generally this season, what I've seen is they've been very good at like so they go to one side, for example, they go to the right, and then the opposition tries to press them, but they very quickly get a couple passes like through the goalkeeper across to the left, and they
Mm.
completely take the sting out of the press. They could not do that for whatever reason here.
Yeah.
And then they got pinned in, and then it all went bad. So like as much as this was a great performance from Bayern, I still feel like I like their press hasn't still been like fully stress tested by an absolutely elite like possession side, like a PSG on a good day kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Hmm.
That would interest me to see how that goes, because there were a couple of moments after the first goal when PSG did kind of find a free player with a couple
Hmm.
of passes, but then they couldn't make anything off it really. But yeah, I think that was the story of the game for me. Is excellent press from Bayern, but PSG had issues here. It was a weird performance from them. Even in the second half, actually, it was like they didn't really show too many ideas. Even like I think Lee Kangin, who came on at halftime, had like it felt like they were just going to him, and then
He
he
did everything. I mean, he had, I think, I've got some of his numbers here. He played 66 minutes. He had 7 chances created, more than twice as many as the next best PSG player, for zero point 0.8 expected goals assisted, 3 shots of his own. Like, but what's weird about it is that you were just seeing like Bayern kind of in front of their area, like a bunch of guys
yeah,
running
be like
around, and it was
eight
just like,
people.
and he was there like a quarterback, like on the edge of the box. It was just like you wait for him to play the. It was very strange that everything was going through him, like
Yeah.
absolutely everything. But I mean, look, there are extenuating circumstances, I guess, right? As in, like
Yes.
Ousmane
Yes.
Dembele goes off after 25 minutes. They still don't have Doué, um,
Hakimi as
and
well.
their guys can still do stuff. Like there's I think on XG it was like 0.2 XG or something. You know, the Barcola one that he brings down from the long ball, gets through and
Mm.
gets a shot. But I was like, man, he's done superhuman things just to get the shot. Like the shot itself, he's stretching
Is
for
the
it because
easier
like
part. Yeah.
it's hard for him. Like for him to even be in that position is ridiculous. I don't think this is a 0.2 XG shot, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what you were talking about maybe the weaknesses of, you know, a man for man press with Bayern, that is what led to the red card. Like the red card is
Yes.
exactly that. It's a failure of the man to man press. And so in that sense, like PSG's sheer quality one on one did kind of earn them the man advantage, even if by that point they were 2 goals down. And
Yeah,
now
and
Hakimi
like to be
going to
fair,
be out
like
for a
I
while.
wouldn't say because like it's not like it was a dog so red card where they were through on goal.
Yeah.
Like the red card wasn't necessary. Like he could have let him go. They
I
weren't in like terrible trouble. So I
I
wouldn't say
thought it was a
like
bit harsh. I thought it was a bit harsh, but I was like, you jump and you scissor, like you can't complain
yeah.
that much if you get a red card, especially as the injury that was done to Hakimi
I think
was
that
not really,
definitely
but that wasn't really from like, you know, the force
yeah
of the challenge, right? It was like he goes
is the angle.
over
Yeah,
his
yeah.
ankle as he goes in. So I was just like, man, this is just a little bit unlucky. But even before that, you know, obviously we get these 2 goals, but there's also like Kane going through on goal and getting
So
a
many
really clean
chances.
shot. There was one point where Kane did do the deeper drop that you talked about that he did less in this game, and suddenly someone, you know, who's this tall blonde guy running through the centre forward position? Should be Harry Kane. It was Conrad Lima, and they were doing, and Kimmich had one as well. Like there
And
were,
even
the,
Stanisic, I think he was off, but even Stanisic had did he have a
yeah.
goal or he was off? But yeah,
Yeah, so these rotations that they had, where they were able to kind of pull the centre backs out of position, and I agree. Like I think this game, maybe some of this will resonate as when we get to Liverpool Real, where you're always wondering a little bit how much is this, you know, a quote unquote tactical masterclass, and how much of this is like our players had good days, some of their players had bad days.
but just one thing I will say about the Bayern attack, which I noticed in this game especially, was like after the turnovers, how fluid they were and how consistently they were able to convert those turnovers into chances.
Yeah.
Because it's all well and good to like generate the turnover, but you still have a fair bit of work to do to actually get a clear chance. And they were excellent at that. And I think that's where actually we saw more of Kane moving, because often what Kane did is after, because he also like he was the one kind of in front, marking or pressing Marquinhos, so he'd be to the
Hmm.
left. And so what he often did is once the turnover was kind of generated, he would be the one dropping back a bit, and Luis Diaz made runs inside, like past him, and I mean that's basically how he got both of his goals. But that's the kind of fluidity which made it really hard for PSG to even recover after the
Hmm.
turnover because there was so much movement happening. So I mean, to be fair, like I didn't notice this so much in previous games, so it's something to keep an eye on. But the consistency with which they did it to me felt like it was probably something they've worked on, probably like an intentional thing. And so that's like another advantage they have with not just being able to get the turnovers but consistently create off of them. So yeah, I think there's a lot of positive signs. And yeah, like the Arsenal game would be a very different challenge, but if they can put together another solid performance, I mean yeah, they're already definitely up there. They may even become like clear favorites.
Yeah, I was impressed by them. I was also impressed by them in the second half. You know, the fact that like they resisted the urge to sink really, really deep, and they were still able to kind of push out and disrupt. You know, through Kimmich, Olise, Lima. But I am intrigued to see what happens when they're up against a team that's, like you say, a bit more skilled in possession or just having a better day in possession
Yeah.
than PSG were, or who have that outball over the top against the press. You know, because
Yeah.
that is something that PSG just did not have in this game. Like they tried to fashion it up high on the left, I think, but you know, against an Arsenal side, you know, or actually quite a lot of the Premier League sides, they will have that outball to like a big presence who can bring it down and then and then it'll be interesting to see how the defense deals with that. I think the Arsenal game is going to be it's going to tell us a lot about those teams, because Arsenal haven't been great in their big games this season. They've been obviously very conservative, as we expect. Bayern, this is a big statement, and so if they win the Arsenal game, like I say, I will truly believe. But until then, I'm not
Still
going
on
to
fraud watch.
quite get on board. Should we go on to Liverpool Real then? Because this was a huge win for Liverpool. I mean, the scoreline really understates how dominant they were. Like, very, very poor performance from Real Madrid. At the same time, a really good performance from Liverpool. 17 shots to 8, 2.5 xG to 0.45. Liverpool, if you hadn't been watching the Premier League and you'd just been watching them in the Champions League, you'd be like, Liverpool, great. Like they're really, really dominant so far. Dominant defensively as well. You know, like the defense has been good. And it's interesting that this game, they ran out pretty much the most conventional lineup they can. Like Robertson and Bradley are fullbacks playing fullbacks. McAllister, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch in midfield. Okay. Wirtz as a left winger, Ekitike through the middle, Salah. You're like, everything about this kind of makes sense. It's just two of the summer signings starting rather than trying to fit them all in. And now afterwards, of course, the real question that we kind of want to have is like, has something been discovered here that is sustainable, or is this big European night at Anfield, Liverpool were able to like kind of they were able to play a game that they played a lot last year against a Real Madrid team who were weirdly kind of passive and I thought played generally badly.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, Liverpool throughout the season, I think like the idea should still be the same from what it was at the start, which
Mm-hmm.
is we have unbelievable attacking talent. We are happy to make the games open. We will blow you out. But somewhere, I mean, I'm still trying to understand what happened. But like somewhere, like around that Palace defeat, like they got a bit spooked, or like this,
Yeah.
they saw something which I'm missing. But then like after that point, they kind of shifted. Oh, maybe we should like control games. Maybe we want a bit more kind of like control games a bit more. Maybe we don't want to make it so open. And that's where I think they really lost their way. But like this game to me is kind of the blueprint for what you're trying to do, which is out of possession, be solid, uh, don't don't go crazy on the press, but like don't sink back. They had a
Mm.
pretty high block for the most part, a pretty solid one. Obviously, like it's Real Madrid in possession, I don't really understand what the idea was for the most part, but okay. And then out of like when like both in possession and also when you get turnovers, go forward quick. Like it's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
Try to attack your opponents in transition, get your forwards 1v1, you're gonna have a good day. Like you have
Mm-hmm.
serious talent advantage against most people, and I think that worked for the most part here. I mean, like I will say also like Real Madrid also, um, like out of possession, like if especially against goal kicks, so they were kind of doing a 4-4-2. But then against goal kicks, they pushed that midfield for so high as well. So it's a huge gap between the lines between the defense and midfield, and like Liverpool had a field day basically. Just
Mm.
finding Szoboszlai, Wirtz was drifting around, Ekitike can drop back obviously, but then they're also progressing through the midfield. I mean, one of the advantages they had was like Bradley was able to beat Vinicius a good few times with like a link pass. So he
Yeah.
receives the ball, Vinicius goes to press him, he plays it inside to the midfielder or centre back, runs ahead, and Vinicius is not tracking him.
And some
Easy.
dribbles as well. Like he
Yeah,
completed
yeah.
three or four dribbles, I think, Bradley.
So that battle worked out pretty well. I mean, like Vinicius, he did have a few bright moments, but they tried to find him 1v1 a fair bit, and I would say it was largely contained. So
Mm.
not a great day for him. But yeah, like I think this is still to me the similar idea for Liverpool. It's just you have to have a balance, and like you say, you have to put players where they're meant to be.
Mm.
Like stop trying to play Kirkers as like a very deep left back. That's not what he's good at. That's not what
Mm.
he ever did before. And then you should be fine.
The thing is, like, I think that Palace thing is interesting because that was the game where they were kind of like, okay, let's make things open and see what happens, and Palace kind of crushed them in the open field.
Yeah, but also like even that game, like yeah, first half was terrible, but I think one of the problems was Mateta was bullying Konate. Like it was a terrible day for Konate,
Yeah.
which can happen. I mean, and we've said like Liverpool centre back depth is clearly an issue, and
Hmm.
that's not like tactically fixable right now. Like that's a squad depth issue, and that was one of I think a clear kind of misstep in the window. But then even in that game, like second half, they
Oh yeah,
created a lot.
yeah, they
Like
did. Yeah,
on the underlyings, that was probably a draw, and you are going to have some of those games, like it happens, but I don't think that should like spook you to this extent. So
mm.
I'm still not, maybe that's something I'm missing, but like I feel like even after then they could have gone on fairly similarly, and they probably, I mean, they definitely have been better than like 4 or 5 straight losses.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree overall. I don't really know what Slot's thinking with it was. Like maybe he was also looking back at the Bournemouth game or something and just thought, like maybe our guys have lost a bit more of a step than I thought. Like maybe Konate is not like kind of peak form. Like something's going on here. Um, or maybe like the Leone injury as well. He thought, well, this
Oh
was a
yeah.
guy we thought that we could count on down the stretch. So like, I can't have my defenders sprinting 40 yards like
That's, yeah,
10
that's
times a
fair.
game. Like maybe, I don't know. But what's interesting to me about this is, afterwards, like I say, a lot of narrative that was like Liverpool have turned a corner, Liverpool have figured it out, and I thought, well, this is Liverpool kind of doing like last year Liverpool to some degree.
Yeah.
Um, and also, like, I look at some of the individual performances in this game, like Bradley, like Robertson, who I think had a good defensive game, Salah, who attempted 10 dribbles and completed 5. I was like, these guys can't do this twice a week. They just can't. And also, will Liverpool play like this away at like Nottingham Forest? Will they play there the same way they play at Anfield against Real Madrid in the Champions League? I just don't really think so. This felt to me like a bunch of guys having 9 or 10s out of 10, and also a game where I think Real Madrid kind of played into it by setting up with this Camavinga on the right hand side thing where he was meant to protect Valverde, but it meant that they were
Yeah, that was
insanely
weird.
insanely left hand biased. And it wasn't left hand biased like Liverpool might do a left hand bias where they're like, okay, Szoboszlai and Gravenberch move the ball out to Wirtz, and the idea is
We have a
Salah is
switch.
moving off ball at the backside. This is like we move the ball out to the left
The
because
right
that's the
side does
only
not
thing.
exist.
Yeah, the right side doesn't exist, so we don't know what to do. And they ended up switching Goulart out there, and Rodrigo came on, and but really it was kind of shocking that Vinny's numbers, like some of his, they look okay, like carries into the box and high receptions and stuff like this, but it doesn't change the fact that it doesn't feel like he created any danger really, and that it only really felt like something was happening when Mbappé was on the ball, and Mbappé increasingly was picking the ball up in midfield and trying to beat 3 guys because Real Madrid just simply didn't have the structure to provide service to him. It felt.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like this is the second of 3 big games, like
Mm,
3 really big games where they've done weird stuff tactically. So I don't know if like Xabi Alonso's on the Pep Guardiola trajectory, but like, yeah, that's
mm,
something to look into. But I mean, so obviously the Camavinga thing comes from the Clasico, right? But in the Clasico, it made sense because Barca pushed their left back up. He gets forward to create a front five. So you can't
sure.
leave Valverde against the winger and the left back. So you need a guy like Camavinga who always tracks back, keeps things quiet. Excellent. Now we had Andy Robertson, who is relatively old and not not Alejandro Balde and not in that kind of a role. He's much deeper. So like that's not the threat. The threat is Florian Wirtz drifting into midfield, Dominic Szoboszlai in midfield, Alexis
Mm,
McAllister progressing through midfield. You want to have Kamavinga with Chouameni there.
mhm.
Like it was like that's what because correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought in the first minute it was Kamavinga in like I first noted this that it was Kamavinga in midfield and Güler on the right, and like
Hmm.
from this second build-up sequence they switched them and then they didn't switch them back till halftime,
Yeah.
and like that baffled me because like that was the obvious tweak to make to stop them from playing through you, but they didn't make it. And obviously in the second half they was also a lot of set pieces, and we've spoken before. I've written also before like set pieces for Real Madrid is just a difficult situation because they don't have just a number of aerial presences to be strong against them, no matter
Mm,
how good you like design your defense. So and that's where obviously the goal came from. But we also have to say like Courtois was unbelievable.
sure.
Like the yeah, I think like shot stopping wise, he's pretty clearly the best keeper in the world right now, which is um yeah, I mean that's a huge
Mhm.
thing for Real Madrid to have still him at such a high level.
Yeah, I don't really know whether Liverpool were kind of pummeling the left hand side, and I don't really know whether that was just because they were like, right, okay, Wirtz is high up, and we're going to get him the ball, and he was doing really well there. You know, he was actually getting the ball in zones he wants to get it. But maybe as well that, intentionally or not, what that did was like keep Camavinga over there, like keep him over there trying to protect Valverde. Um, and it meant that like the supply never got cut off earlier. They were dealing with like symptoms of the problem rather than dealing with the actual problem itself.
Exactly.
Um, so yeah, I kind of agree with it with like Xabi Alonso. I'm like, what's going on with you in these big games, man? Like, I don't really, because even more than that, and it kind of sounds like weak analysis, but you're like, like, in this game, same as against Atletico Madrid, you're just like, this is weirdly flat. This is just kind of like flat, passive in a way that I don't see the rest of the
yeah,
time.
like what's the idea? Like in a like you said in attack, it was get the ball to Vinny, and he does something, and he didn't do
Hmm.
something, and then Mbappe was like, wait a minute, guys, let me do something, but then he has four guys around him.
Yeah,
Like, is
it's like
that
you're
the tactic?
fast, but you're not that fast, man. Like yeah, I know, and it was just so strange to see, Salah, who at this point in his career is, much more athletically limited than these guys, but consistently kind of put in a position to create something or to be dangerous with his take-ons. Even though actually, once again, Salah, it's like 0.4 expected goals and assists combined in this game in a pretty decent XG performance for Liverpool. Is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Big questions around Xabi Alonso's like choices in these games, but like I don't know. It feels like for a couple of years the only big games he's played have been against Bayern Munich. So maybe he's just like, hang on,
He
what?
only knows how to
there are
play
other
one day.
there are other kinds of good teams. I didn't know.
And he, to be fair, to him, he was really good at those games. Like I think they were
Yeah, he
unbeaten
was.
for like 4 or 5 straight. So he got that right. Now he
Mm,
just needs to figure out what to do when there's different kinds of teams, and like
yeah.
not teams trying to keep 80% possession. So yeah, that's the next step of the learning process.
It was a perplexing game. I'm intrigued to see what Liverpool are up to next, because I wonder if they try and roll this out again, and if they do try and stick to this, then the worry becomes something else. The worry becomes, how do you keep all these guys happy that you signed,
Yeah, but I mean, I think that
who are not
they'll have
playing?
quite. I mean, they definitely will have a lot of rotation, just given the like the fixture schedule. How it's. I mean, I'm just looking at it. So they've got City next, obviously international break then, but then it's Forest, 4 days PSV, 4 days West Ham, 4 days Sunderland, 3 days Leeds, 3 days Inter. So in that
Pretty
period, I
good
mean,
run.
4 days Brighton. In that period, you have to like basically almost play two teams. So I don't think that's
Sure.
should be too much of an issue. But yeah, the thing is getting the balance right when you change people, and not doing stuff like okay, guys, stay deep. We're not changing any roles. Pass the ball. Learn how to become an elite progressive passer
But
in two
man, this is
days.
rough when you're just like, okay, if our left back gets tired and we want to bring on another left back, we actually have to change like pretty much the way the entire team is set up so that we can give Andy Robertson 30 minutes rest. You're like, that's quite a high degree of difficulty for Slot. So I'm happy to see it. I
All
mean,
the
look,
best.
we've touched on Vinicius, and he's an interesting guy at the moment, because like there have been reports across Europe in fairly credible sources that Real Madrid are willing to sell him or are considering selling him. Obviously, he had that huge tantrum following his substitution against Barcelona, which looks pretty bad. He's peak age. I mean, it would be ironic if Real Madrid did come to sell him now, given that now it feels like the Mbappe Vinicius thing is largely okay, like in a way that it wasn't before. It's like now Mbappe playing centre forward works pretty well. Like I'm okay with it. Okay, now maybe we get rid of Vinicius, but at the same time, he is getting substituted more. He is getting benched more. Like it does seem to be a bit more of a problem. And if Real Madrid can turn him into a huge sale, it makes a lot of sense. Like, I mean, his numbers this season are fantastic. My worry is who there is to buy him. Like, who
Well,
is
that's
there?
exactly my worry. So,
Yeah, like
great
Bayern.
conversation here.
Bayern have signed Díaz.
Yeah, that.
Italy,
You,
no
you, you,
money.
you you can't scam PSG. Like, the problem is you can't scam PSG anymore.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
That's exactly the
PSG,
problem.
but it wouldn't be a scam necessarily, right? Like, it's like if PSG needed a left winger and they went and spent huge money on Vinicius, I'd be like, okay, that's fine.
Fair
But
enough,
like,
yeah.
they don't need him, and yeah, so they don't need him. Bayern don't need him. Italy, no money. Atleti and Barca out, though would be funny. Then you've only got the Premier League teams, and the Premier League teams, I think, are closer to being fit. Like City would have to not have Doku or Marmoush, and I don't think Pep would really like him. But they could. But in theory, you could do it. Arsenal. Okay, they're probably going to move on Trossard, Jesus, maybe Martinelli. Maybe they could do it, but not really because they've still got too many parts.
I don't think
Liverpool, too
Arteta
many
would like him.
parts.
By the way, like
I do not think
Arteta will
Arteta
see him
would like
not track back once and try to sell him back to like ask for a refund.
And he's got like a lot of the footballing skills, like say a lot of the same footballing skills as Bukayo Saka, but not. I would say like the tactical, the strategic skills of Bukayo Saka. But then you're like, okay, Chelsea is it Chelsea? Chelsea, because Chelsea would be like,
can scam.
and they're like the guys where they say, we've just bought Garnacho and Gittins, but we actually don't care. We will bench £100 million worth of players in order to bring Vinicius Jr. That's the only one where I can kind of squint and see it.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
to be fair, I mean, I hadn't considered it, but yeah, like of all the options, that's the most plausible one. Like, I can see them because the thing with Vinicius is, I mean, one, like you say, because like I also felt in this game that he did not seem that. I mean, it could obviously just be an off day kind of thing, but he his numbers were good, but he didn't actually seem that threatening. Like, Bradley had him under control.
No, I totally agree. Yeah,
and then I look at his like stats from the season, and they're like really about as good as they've been. It's no problem.
Have you seen his carries into the penalty area?
Yeah, okay. They're way better than they've ever been. Like,
he's at seven carries into the penalty area per 90. I was like, brother, like the second best is Yamal on 5.5, which is also insane. He's Doku, who normally is top, right, for this. But actually, Saeed El Mala is there as well. It's an interesting thing to keep an eye on. But Doku, you're like, okay, we expect to see Doku top. Doku's on like 4. So he is just relentless. And even in this game, he had, I think, 5 carries into the penalty area. He is one of the world's best progressive receivers as well. And he was in this game. He had 16 progressive receptions. And he's turned into a pretty useful progressive passer. And he's got 0.6 expected goals and assists per 90 this season. And yet...
I mean, like, again, the numbers are great. And like if he is like he understands that there's multiple players in his position and they can happily coexist, like, I think Real Madrid should be very glad to keep him because like the numbers are clearly elite, and like off the bench, he in those few games he's looked really good, he's looked really hungry, so that's great. It maybe even gotten a little bit more out of him, out of possession, because of those like benching him a bit. So like I would still think it's probably best idea to keep him because he's really good. But yeah, like if you're trying to sell him, I actually can't. And even Chelsea, like, it's what are they gonna want? They're gonna want like 150 million or at least like around that figure.
That's the
And
number
like,
I've got here.
Chelsea have already sold a bunch of hotels and their women's team. And their training grounds, like they don't have much more to sell.
The academy, like I don't know. To be fair to Chelsea, they do always find money, man. Like they made whatever it was, 300 mil or something last summer.
Yeah, no,
and you can totally imagine them being like, okay, we have. Well, you can't break even on Enzo Fernandez or anyone like you just can't do it. You know, so they'd and someone like Colwill coming off an ACL, it would be
pure
rough.
profit. Tyreek George for 30 million.
Well, they almost did that in the summer. Exactly, they almost got 20 mil for him. But that's what it would be. They'd have to be like, maybe we sell Reece James or someone to get the money to do this. But exactly, I look at this and I think this is a really hard time to sell this kind of player for this kind of money. And And
I mean,
they're gonna have
the
to work
only
it out.
alternative is if one of the Saudi big four come, and I mean, there was some rumors
That
before.
is what's gonna happen.
So that's the yeah. I mean that, and then I think it was like they're gonna make him the highest paid player and all that. So like that's like if Real Madrid want to get rid of him, that is by far the most, I would say, most like likely option for them. But they
Plus,
just have to hope.
plus, isn't like a sale kind of like a sale of part of Real Madrid has been like mooted like recently. Like that's been
Oh
something
yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind
okay,
of been
like the private, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And so then you're kind of like, well, if you can bring in like 150 mil, then that kind of fattens you up a little bit for that kind of sale. I don't know.
And like the other thing is like if you sell Vinicius, I would reinvest that in a really good striker
Mm,
because I still think in like in these kinds of games, Mbappe isn't really like, especially in the second half when Liverpool dropped back after the goal, Real Madrid created nothing
yeah.
because they didn't have a good strike, like a proper striker, and Mbappe was pulling out to all sorts of parts but not being in the box, and they didn't have any other like targets. Uh, and like that was it. That was pretty much the game. Like I think they had like 0.12 xg after going behind, so
Mhm.
no real threat. And so for these kinds of games, it's really helpful to have a striker who is in the box. And we'll talk about another team who are learning about that soon. But you know, like I still think obviously Mbappe as the left winger who cuts it, who like drives inside, is still a very viable option.
Yeah,
And
he'd happily
I
go
would,
back there.
yeah, and like he would be excellent. So that like if this does happen, I would not buy an elite left winger necessarily. Like I would not
Mm.
buy a close to a like for like Vinicius replacement. Obviously, get a backup maybe, but I would invest more of that in a really good striker. So that would be interesting to see.
Well, they've still got Rodrigo. Like, I mean, like
Oh yeah,
they
they
could
don't
just
even need to. Yeah, that's
they
fair.
keep Rodrigo and say, well, some games, you know, Mbappe will play up front and you can play left, I guess. My only issue is that right now I'm kind of like, is there a striker of Real Madrid caliber?
Yeah.
Um, like maybe. I don't know. There might be a smart
But
choice
also you
there.
don't necessarily need like the striker should just be a good fit to get Mbappe in that left wing role because you can still get most of your
Sure.
goals from Mbappe. You just need a guy who's like taking the center backs away, is in the box, can get on the end of
So
crosses.
like the Hosselu thing, you're like, we
Hosalu,
need somebody who
exactly.
can occupy centre
Let's get
backs.
a
Yeah.
Hosalu.
Okay.
So
No,
that's
I think
that's
get big German. Just get any big German. Like that would be fine. There were rumors at one point about them wanting somebody like Kai Havertz, and I was like, it's kind of interesting. Okay, I don't know where Vinicius is gonna go. Like the days of Italian
I,
clubs giving you a ton of money, yeah, or like you say PSG giving you infinite money, they're gone, and it's hard to shift these guys now. They couldn't shift Rodrigo in the summer, so now if they want to shift Vinny, better player but more money. Um, okay, shall we look at Real Madrid's rivals, Barcelona, who went on a little trip to Belgium to play Club Brugge, and second year Flick continues to deliver on entertainment. Absolute chaos in Belgium. Ended 3-3. Could have been worse. That they had a fourth goal ruled out for a foul on Chesney, which is very, very. I mean, Chesney had a
he
really
sold
bad.
that. He sold
He
that.
he had a really bad night, man. Like, I mean, even shot stopping. Like, so many of the goals in this game were quite
They
savable.
were
I
shots
think
on target. That's what they were.
they were shots on target, but man, I mean, they gave up 2.2 expected goals, and now they've allowed 1.7 xg plus in 7 of 15 games this season. Only 4 times have they kept an opponent under 1 expected goal. Can you name those 4 teams? They're
Oh,
all in Spain.
wait, 4 times opponents under one actually. Wait, I need to
Yes.
see that fixed. Let me look at. Well, I see the results though because I don't know who they played.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
I'll just tell you: Valencia,
yeah.
Mallorca, Elche, and Getafe. These are the teams that they've kept to under
So
1
that's
expected goal.
zero real attacks.
Exactly. Zero real, like zero entire football clubs. It's like some of those teams have a bit of a team. Some of them have none of a team. But none of them have a whole team. And so it does just like, I mean, the simple fact is that now everybody, like the dumbest guy on football Twitter who knows absolutely nothing about anything, is like, I think I know how you could try and beat the Barcelona the Barcelona defense. And man,
The high line.
and I mean, like, look, there are special goals in this game. Like the second goal is a really smart counter
Oh yeah.
where Brugge play a couple of like really really smart first time passes. But the first goal in this game, 5 minutes in, it's just like a curved run, Barca highline trap, not working at all. Forbes playing off the right was like Balde had no idea where he was, like for the entire night. Like he had no clue whatsoever. So the first goal and the third goal are just like blindside runs behind the fullback. It's
It's that
shockingly
easy.
simple. It's
It's that easy.
shockingly simple. I don't get it. And Barca kind of got lucky as well. Like if Brugge had not, they kind of got suckered out quite a few times, and then Barca were able to counter. You know, that's how they got that first equalizer. There's that Torres missed chance. Then there's an own goal that leads to the 3-3. You know, like if it weren't for those things, I don't know if, but like Barca might have come out of this game with a loss, which would have been staggering stuff, especially given the game Yamal had, where Yamal was like was kind of extraordinary in this game. Yeah, I don't know. Where do you want to start with this, Neel?
I mean, like honestly, those are my like main takeaways. Yeah, obviously, anyone who watched the game will know about the Barca highlights, but also they were like countered quite a bit as well. Like obviously that
Yeah,
the goal from the corner, the second goal, but there was a few
yeah.
other ones as well where like the rest defense wasn't really on it. Obviously, a few like rotation in the side. I mean, Pedri injured, Kubarsi benched. So yeah, like not having a couple of children is actually not. I mean, Pedri's not a child anymore, but not having a child at centre back is actually bad for this team. So that's good. Um, and then that like the, like they scored a goal, and they were like, you know what, guys, we will give you a big chance in exchange for the goal we scored. And Brugge took like two of those. So like after scoring every goal, they were like, we have to give a big chance. So it was just very, very
It's
weird.
basketball.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was, but like you would think after you got the goal for just 2 minutes, calm down a bit, just 2 minutes, keep the ball. You know, don't try to put the defensive line in the opposition half. Just do it again afterwards. Just 2 minutes, calm down. Nope, we're gonna give you another big chance. So yeah, that was terrible. And yeah, Lamine Yamal was incredible, like you said. But also, I mean, again, there's injuries. They're missing Pedri, Rafinha, Lewandowski's on the bench. But really,
Gavi.
like Gavi. Barca's attack was really just get the ball to Lamine Yamal and see what he does, because there was no real other ideas against. So Brugge had a very interesting, like it was also a very player oriented low block. Like even the midfielders were tracking opposition midfielders, so it was very, but obviously very compact, very deep. So like not spaces to be found, but a lot of 1v1 battles you could have. And it was obviously Lamine Yamal was cooking the was it I think it was Sabe, right? Sabe on that side. He had, I mean, like, oh sorry, it was Joaquin Says, but again, nothing against him because like what can he do?
Sure.
But he
Yeah.
had a terrible night because Lamine Yamal was like getting all over him. And then soon enough, at least they got like Kunde overlapping to support him. And like I think there's a couple of like one of the shots went off the crossbars. There's a couple of chances they got that way, but that was it. Like Lamine Yamal does something, otherwise nothing. Which is like if it's a really, and Brugge to be fair are I think quite a good team, so we have to give them due credit. But still, if you're Barcelona, you want to see more than this against a Belgian team of any description. So a bit of concern there. But I will also say, like we have to give credit to Carlos Forbes as well, because
Yeah.
I first saw him a couple of years ago when he was at Ajax. He's from the Manchester City academy. He moved to Ajax then. I think there's a loan to Wolves somewhere in between, and then like at the start of this season, he goes to Club Brugge. So when I saw him, because I just pulled up my notes from a couple of years ago, and at that time you could see like this. He had obviously he's very quick. He's got a serious
Yeah.
top speed. Can also like just burst past defenders. So a real threat that way. But at that time, he was pretty one-dimensional, where he'd always cut into his left foot, and you could kind of see him like see it coming what he was going to do. And so he used to play off the right then. He moved to the left like last a couple of seasons ago,
Yeah.
and kind of developed some. I think he did pretty well as a left winger then, and then now at Brugge he's moved back to the right. I think now he does look really good and quite well rounded. So I think his off ball movement is improved. I mean, Not hard to get him behind Barca's high line, but he made a couple
Sure.
good runs. He also now gets down the, not in this game, but generally he gets down the line more and puts in decent balls with his right. I think if you saw Club Brugge's like Champions League playoff against Rangers, you would have seen a fair bit of that. So
Well, and
he's
he assists the first goal in this game. Not from down the line exactly, but
yeah,
like
but
he's crossing from wide. Yeah.
exactly, and so he's already got 5 goals, 5 assists. It's his first time he's gotten like double-digit output in a season, and I think like this gives Brugge's attack a real like dual threat with Solis on the left. Of course, we've talked about him before. Another real like threatening winger, direct winger, and yeah, like now in these big games, Brugge can really hurt you on both sides. So it's I think a smart signing from them. He's developed really well. So I think he's going to be one to watch going forward as well. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously not hard to get in behind Barca's high line. So he's probably not going to get brace and like his finishing still. I mean, like the finish for the second goal wasn't like the best finish. Like you said, Chesney was just standing there,
And that
and
was
then
after he'd missed that previous one, right, where
no,
he like kind of chipped it over the
yeah,
bar.
yeah, and then even for that one, like when he got the ball like past Chesney, and like his reaction to me felt like he thought it was going wide, but then it crept inside. It
But
was
was that also because he celebrate before? You know, he like puts his finger
oh
up like this as he did it, and I was like, did he celebrate, then hit it, and then think, oh shit, it's going wide, and have to chase it down to make sure it went in? You're like, this doesn't look cool anymore. Like, it's better to let it go wide and walk away if you want to look cool. But I couldn't quite work out whether it was like gamesmanship or just
yeah,
like,
that's true.
something he did like kind of without thinking in the moment. But it made me laugh. I mean, yeah, he and actually even when he cut inside though for his goal, the first goal, I was like, he got the shot off really quickly. Like
Yeah.
he had half a second to do it, and he did it really nicely. But it was an impressive game for Brugge generally. Barcelona now they give up the highest expected goals per shot in Europe's top 5 leagues, bar
Did
none.
you know when their last clean sheet was?
No, no, when?
The 21st of September, 10 games ago, against the mighty Getafe.
Oh my god. Okay.
So after that, they've conceded to Oviedo, Real Sociedad. Obviously, Sevilla put 4 past them. Girona, Olympiacos, Elche. Obviously, some stronger teams as well, and now Brugge. So yeah, excellent stuff, guys.
It's not good. Like I ranked, I went through the FB ref thing, and I was like, let's look at Europe's top 5 leagues. XG allowed per 96 teams in Europe's top 5 leagues. Do you know where Barcelona are for XG allowed per 90?
56.
54. Very good.
Okay.
54. But 54.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like that's below average. You're trying to be La Liga title contenders.
Yeah, I was
Below
just like,
average.
you guys are like, you're not as good as like Sunderland, like on this stuff.
Yes, way better.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like it's interesting to see. The one good thing about Barcelona being dysfunctional is that Yamal does everything.
They're
Like in
entertaining.
this game, when you're like, for a guy to have like 5 shots, 5 dribbles, as well as like 11 progressive passes, he had 6 passes into the penalty area and 5 carries into the penalty area, and it's like, you can do a Messi impression, but you're not allowed to do a Messi and a Pedri impression. Right? It's like, that's not
That's
accept.
too
That's
much.
that's muddled. You've got to pick one. But yeah, anyway, Barcelona obviously super fun to watch right now, but big question marks. They are, I don't know, they're kind of dropping down the tiers in my Champions League ranking. I think we're looking at 3rd or 4th tier here, but they've still got so much incredible ability. Be interesting to see what happens when the front line is back to full health. Shall we finish up today with Chelsea versus Qarabag? Obviously, as build, this is our headline story. Azerbaijan football, like now, like this is like your bread and butter, Neel. Is it good? Here's my question: if you are an ambitious Premier League team, is it good to be outplayed by Qarabag? Just a thought.
I don't think so, unfortunately. No. That's the exclusive insight you get here. Probably not, actually, because fun fact, Qarabag are not even top of the Azerbaijani league right now.
Oh my
So
God.
excellent work. They're not even better than the second best team in Azerbaijan. But yeah, I mean, like, honestly, with Chelsea this season, it's been a lot of the same stuff for me. So it's like, once again, They couldn't do anything against a low block. What do you need against a low block? You need a striker in the box.
Yep.
What do you need to have a striker in the box? To have not sold your best striker in the summer, that's a good starting point. And to not pay, was it George here? Was it yeah, it was Tyreek George here, but then Joao
Yeah.
Pedro as well. And I mean, like Chelsea's main threat really was getting the ball to the wing, which is very often the case, especially now, but also generally. But it was like without Palmer, it just get the ball to the wingers, see they do something. That's how Estevao, of course, scored the first goal. But Gittins here was like I don't know what he was doing half the time, uh, and yeah, I mean like I could genuinely at a point where like the 18-year-old from Brazil who just moved in the summer is kind of the most reliable winger in this Chelsea side.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And like that's it because like that makes him the most reliable attacker right now because Palmer's not here. And I mean Delap gets suspended or benched, which okay. So yeah, man, like get a striker, get Palmer fit, you'll be a bit better. But yeah, for now, all the best. That's all I can say.
No, I agree. Like my analysis is the same. Palmer, striker, stop getting red cards. Like that.
Yeah,
That
that's
that will
that
do.
sounds good.
That will do for Chelsea, and that will do for us. Actually, I think that brings us to the end of this week's bumper Champions League roundup. We will be bringing you more content over on Patreon, where we'll be talking about the benefits of teams hunting for players in specific leagues, with reference to some more extremely Neel teams in there. We'll also be doing some football hot takes and some did you knows. But we do still need your questions. Please do send in the questions that you would like us to discuss over on Patreon. Like we're always looking for topics and anything that you would like us to dig into that doesn't feel the right fit for one of our weekly podcasts over here. Maybe it's a little bit deeper. Maybe it feels like a bit more off the beaten track. Maybe it feels a bit more research heavy. Those are the things that would really make sense for the Patreon. So let us know. You can find that at patreon.com/the transfer flow. And thank you very much for being here. Neel, where can people find you online if they want to hear more of your expertise?
Yep, you can go over to @ChillatNeil on Blue Sky or Twitter, and that's where you'll find out about who the second best team in Azerbaijan is.
You mean the best team in Azerbaijan? Qarabag are the second best team, are they
Okay,
not?
yeah, sure. I'll tell them about Turan Tovuz.
Oh
Yes.
my god. Okay, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.